Hello, today we are going to learn how to compute some measurements of location, measurements of relative standing, and measurements of variability, which are actually um, called summary statistics. We're going to do this using Excel 2010, and to do so I am going to use a set of data that has the salary per month of 12 observations. This information is already sorted by from the lowest to the largest, and to do these computations I am going to actually fill up each of these different formulas in Excel. So to get the mean, what we need to do is to use the formula average, and this formula over here will need the group of or the information of the cells where the data are collected. So that's going to be C3 to C14, and when I hit enter I get the mean. This mean is going to be the sample mean as well as the population mean, because the formulas are the same. For the median, what we're going to do is we're going to hit equal, and then we're going to use median, which is the formula. Again, what I am going to do is I'm going to highlight the cells C3 to C14, and then when I hit enter, then I get the value for the median. And the mode, okay, so as you know, some samples may not have any mode, or may have one mode, or may have many modes. So for actually get the mode for this particular sample, which only has one mode, what I'm going to use is the mode formula. And as you can see, there are two different formulas: the mode mult and the mode single, or SNGL. So I am going to use that one because I know this data only has one mode. So if I complete the formula and hit enter, what I get is the mode. Alright, so also we would like to get measurements of relative standing, and we're going to start by getting the minimum. So the minimum it's computed by using the formula MIN, minimum, and then highlighting the data set. So, and then parentheses, so C3 to C14. Then by hitting enter, I get the minimum. Here is not a surprise because the minimum is the first value, and then the maximum is going to be the last value, because the data, I organized the data from smallest to largest. For the maximum, you hit equal, then MAX, maximum, and then again you highlight the dataset and parentheses and hit enter. Okay, so that's the minimum and maximum. Now we're going to find the 80th percentile. To do so, we're going to use the formula in Excel. So we hit equal, and then we hit percentile. So we see three options here. One that says dot exclude, dot exc, that means exclude, that inc, which is include, and then the one that has like a symbol, like a warning symbol. So that one, the last one, is one that was used before in the previous 2007 version of Excel. but the one that we're going to use is the one that excludes the lower and upper percentiles, that meaning the 0 percentile and the 100 percentile. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the percentile.exe, sorry. So to do so, what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the data again from C3 to C14, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add comma or maybe semicolon depending on your computer, but this will be easily identified in the formula, in the help formula below the cell that we're trying to use. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hit 80 percentile, so 80%. And with this, what we're going to get is the percentile that we're looking for. Now we're going to get the first quartile, so that is nothing different than the 25th percentile, but locally we're going to use a particular formula for this. So if I hit enter and I type in quartile, then again I have three options, of course, or again we're going to use the exclude version of the formula, and then we're going to hit C3 and we're going to highlight all the way to C14. We finish and then we hit enter. Oh, sorry. So I got an error, of course. Why? Because I only highlight the data, but I never said which quartile I am trying to get. So the quartile that I am trying to get is the first. So very simply, I just hit comma, and then I said, okay, please give me the first quartile, so the number 1. And if I hit enter, then I get the first quartile. Now the second one. So the second one would be same thing, quartile excluding the lower and upper quartile, or the min and the max. Then I'm going to get the second quartile, which is the 50 percentile, which is also again the median. So as you can see, median and second quartile are the same. Finally, if I'm going to get the third quartile, then I am going to use the same formula, quartile.exe, because I am excluding the minimum and the maximum, and then I highlight the data. Again, I have to use the third quartile, so I add comma 3, and when I hit the enter, I get the corresponding third quartile. So that is giving us measurements of relative standing. And now I am going to get some measurements of variability. So the first one is range, which is very simple to compute. It's just the maximum value. So I'm going to point out to F10, where I already have the maximum value, and then I am going to subtract, so minus the minimum value. So if I hit enter, I get 615. Now I get to get the interquartile range, which is nothing but the difference between Q3 and Q1. So to actually get that difference, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit equal, and then I'm going to highlight F14, and then I'm going to subtract Q1, which is in F12. So by hitting enter, I get the interquartile range. Now we're going to compute the sample variance and the population variance. Remember, sample variance is dividing by n, and population variance is a formula that divides by, sorry, I mix that. Sample variance is using the n minus 1 as the denominator, whereas population variance is using the denominator n. So to get that, what we're going to do is we hit enter, and then we use var, and then we see a lot of options. So as you can see, we have the .p, .s, and then we have two others that are for something different, and then we have two that are marked with a warning, which are the VAR and the VARP. So the new Excel uses VAR.s to compute the sample variance, and then to do this we are just typing that and then opening parentheses and highlighting the range of data points that we have. So that's going to be C3 to C14. Then we hit enter, and then we get the number. Finally, with the variance of the population, we hit enter, and then again we do var that and p for population. We highlight the data set, so from C3 to C14, and then we close parentheses and hit enter to get the population variance. As you can see, these two numbers are different, and the reason is that we're dividing by n in the population variance and n minus 1 in the sample variance. Okay, now we're gonna get the sample standard deviation. So we know that the sample standard deviation is just the square root of the sample variance. We can get the standard STDEV, and then that's gonna stand for standard deviation. Then we hit dot and then S if we want to get the standard deviation for the sample. I forgot to mention that again, for compatibility reasons, we have two other formulas that are highlighted with warning signal, which are the STDEV and the STDEVP. Those are there because those were the formulas that were used before in previous versions. So let me recap. So we go STDEV and then dot S to resample that we're in sample. Again, we open parentheses and then we highlight the data set, so from C3 to C14, close parentheses and then hit enter. That is giving us the square root of the sample variance. Now we're gonna get same but for the population, so we are going to get standard deviation for the population. So STEDV dot P for population. We highlight the information that we want, so C3 to C14, and then we hit enter. So that's gonna give us the number that we're looking for. So finally, sample coefficient of variation. So sample coefficient of variation is giving us a measurement of the ratio between the variance and the median. So for the sample, we're going to use the sample variance. So we hit equal, and then we use the sample as a standard deviation, and then we divide that by the mean. So that will be the first part, and then I'm gonna just write parentheses, and then I'm going to multiply by 100, and then after that I'm gonna get the percentage. So when I do so, I get the 4.2%. And for the population coefficient of variation, what we're going to do is we're going to do the same formula, but instead of using the sample standard deviation, we're going to use the population standard deviation. So again, I hit enter, I'm going to open parentheses, get the population standard deviation, which is F24. Then I'm going to divide by the population mean. But remember that the population mean and the sample mean are the same, so I will just divide by the same number. And then I divide, close parentheses, and multiply by 100. So if I do that, I'll get the population coefficient of variation, which is going to be 4%. So with that, we are able to compute all the summary statistics for this particular data set. And I hope this is useful for you. Thank you.